Good morning, boys and girls. I have somebody really special here today to speak to you about some of the animals that we have around Grand Cayman and Little Cayman and Cayman Brac. And her name is Miss Kathy Childs, and she works with the National Trust, and she is the Education Program Manager there. Good morning, Miss Kathy. Thank you for coming to meet me.
All right. Thank you so much for having me in to talk today to you guys about Cayman's natural world. We have amazing wildlife, amazing trees and plants here as well, things that occur nowhere else in the whole wide world but here in Cayman. So the National Trust works very hard to make sure that these animals and plants are protected. So they'll always be here and they'll always be safe. You guys might already know, I bet, some of the animals that we have here in Cayman that are nowhere else in the world. I bet you can even name some of them. What about the blue iguana? Isn't it a pretty iguana? These things are really big, by the way, much bigger than this little toy I have in my hand. They can get really large, and they can live up to 65 years old.
Wow.
So they live to be pretty old. And they only occur in Grand Cayman. So the sister islands, Little Cayman and Cayman Brac, have a different iguana cousin to this one. So they look very similar, but they don't have this beautiful blue color. They're just as special though. So that one's called the Sister Islands Rock Iguana, and this one is the blue iguana. So they're only here in Grand Cayman, and their numbers got really low for a while. They got down to, they think, less than 20 individuals left on Grand Cayman, which is, I mean, that they thought they were going to go extinct, that there would be no more left in the whole world. But the people saw how bad the situation was, and they captured some of the last ones that were still around, and we started a breeding center for them at the Botanic Park. When you guys get a chance, go to the Botanic Park, and right next to it is the Blue Iguana Conservation Program, and you can do a little tour and meet all these iguanas in real life, which is really a fun thing to do. So the blue iguanas we have, because of that, we now have more than 1,000 pretty much in the wild, and they've all been released out east where they're safe. Because unfortunately, cats and dogs, sometimes we kill them. If you guys have dogs, you probably have seen them chasing around the green iguanas. You know how they are. So that way they're safe out in the wild. So it's been a really great success. And we should be very proud that we have these beautiful creatures in our islands and that they're doing so well now. So speaking of other similar species, you guys know, I bet, about green iguanas.
Yes.
This is not a native species. They can be beautiful, and it's not their fault they don't belong here. People brought them here. But this guy actually came from Central America. They brought them here probably as pets, and then they got loose. And in Central America, they have predators. That means they have animals that try to eat them. And so they have a lot of strategies, a lot of ways that they have developed to escape those predators. So they have lots of babies all the time. They climb trees. They swim really well. And they are really fast. You guys have probably seen this, actually.
Yes.
And because of that, when they don't have any predators here in Cayman, their population has gotten really too big in some places. But let me tell you some differences so that when you see a green iguana, you'll know it's a green and not a blue, because they are not always green. So when they're little, they're bright green like this. But when they get older, the males can turn orange, and they have big orange spikes on the back like this.
Yes.
And they have big round scales on their cheeks. You see right here, and under their chin, they have lots of spikes on their dewlap right here. So look for the spikes. Tall spikes on the back of the neck. Those are all characteristics of a green iguana.
Okay.
Now, sometimes the female green iguanas, the girl ones, because they have the babies, they are usually more camouflaged. That means they blend into their surroundings a lot more. Like you might have seen sometimes female birds, the girl birds are more camouflaged than the males, which are much more colorful. The same thing, because they want to be able to be more camouflaged from the predators, things that might want to eat them. So they almost can look blue sometimes. They're kind of a dark slate gray kind of color. But again, you can tell it's not a blue iguana if you look for those spikes here under their chin, the big tall spikes on the back of their neck, and that big round scale on the side of their cheek. So that's how you can tell the greens.
So blue iguanas don't have those?
Yeah, blue iguana, going back to this guy, they only have spikes on their chins. They don't have the big round scale. Their dewlap underneath here, underneath their chin, is smooth. It doesn't have the spines. They have little short spines on their back. You see how different that is? They're not the big, tall spines. And this, my toy doesn't have this, but they have black feet as well and red eyes.
Oh.
That's, yeah, they're super cool. They call them the blue dragons.
Oh.
Because they're so beautiful. So those are our iguana species that we have here. And staying with the reptiles are animals that are, they could call them cold-blooded, but that's because they take their temperature from the surrounding area where they are, and they lay eggs, and they have scales usually. So another reptile we have in Cayman is our sea turtles.
Oh, yes, we love those.
Cayman is famous for sea turtles. When Christopher Columbus first spotted these islands, he said there were so many turtles around Cayman that looked like you could walk ashore on the backs of them.
Wow.
Imagine all those turtles. Yeah, so there was a lot.
And we just learned about that for Discovery Day. That was one of the things that we learned, that Cayman was called Las Tortugas when he found the Cayman brachial in Little Cayman.
Exactly right. Yeah, there were millions of turtles, they think, back in those days. But people needed them for when sailors would come by, and unfortunately the population went down a lot, but we're bringing the population back up again now, and we have the nesting sea turtles are starting to come back. Rather than being in the millions like they used to be, we have something probably about 150 nesting sea turtles that are using Cayman now, which is up from in the past. So things are getting better, but we have to still protect them because that's still really low compared to what it used to be. So we work hard to protect these guys because they're so beautiful when you see them.
They are.
At the turtle farm or swimming around in the wild, they're so beautiful. So sea turtles are another important species. And other things, so keep in mind that Cayman, before people came here, and by the way, we didn't have any permanent settlements here. People didn't really live here permanently until fairly recently, like the 1700s. Before that, there weren't people here. And there weren't any mammals. No dogs, no cats, no cows, no sheep, nothing except for bats.
Oh.
Bats are our only native mammal. Now, a mammal is an animal that has fur like this, and they're warm-blooded. So people are mammals. Dogs and cats and cows, all of those are mammals. So this is our only native mammal.
Okay.
And they're amazing. They're super important for the environment and for people. So don't be afraid of them. Some people are, but there's no reason to be, because our bats don't have any diseases in Cayman.
Okay.
And they are very important because they can eat millions of insects every evening.
Do they eat those pesky mosquitoes?
They
yes.
should. They love mosquitoes. So if you don't like being bit by mosquitoes, definitely keep our bats around because they're super important for the ecology. So those are the insect-eating bats, but there's also fruit-eating bats. And those guys are important because they carry the seeds of the fruits all around and drop them around, and they can actually be responsible for forests growing up from all of those seeds that fall down. Okay. And they help to pollinate, which means they help the trees to reproduce and to make new trees. So these bats are really important.
Okay.
Yeah, so we love our bats.
Yes.
And then last but not least, I want to talk to you about our beautiful parrots. I bet you guys have seen these parrots flying around, have you?
Yes, sometimes they come to our school and our playground. We love seeing them.
Out front, there were some trees where some parrots were nesting. Usually you hear them before you see them because they're really, really loud. But they're really beautiful. They're actually perfectly camouflaged when they're up in the trees with this green color, exactly the color of the trees usually. And the red matches the little fruits that are in some of our trees as well. And this beautiful blue, you really don't notice it until they're flying. Next time they're flying past you, look for that beautiful blue along their wingtips. It's really amazing. These are gorgeous, gorgeous birds. So these numbers actually went down too. People, when people came and farmers started growing fruits and things, sometimes they would kill the parrots because they would be eating their fruits. So now we try to work with farmers to make sure that their crops are protected because, you know, the people need those fruits to eat. So you could see how they felt like they were losing their fruit to the parrots and needed to do something about it. But our farmers that we have today, they really understand the importance of our native parrots, and we're working together to try to solve that problem. And these numbers of our parrots have increased in recent years. Now their major problem is loss of habitat. That means habitat is a place where animals live, where they can find a nice place for a home and to get food and things. And
Okay.
because when we take down forests to put up houses or roads or shopping centers, sometimes the wild animals lose their habitat. They lose places to put their homes. So it's important sometimes to think about where we put all of our human things so we leave space for our wild friends so they also have places to live.
Right, because sharing is caring. That's what we
Exactly.
always say at school. So we want to share our space with them.
So these are some of our, probably our most famous animals that we have here in Cayman that we look after at the National Trust. And I'm so glad that you let me come in and talk to you in your class today on Zoom. This is fun.
Yes.
Let's do it again.
Yes, we should. Thank you so much for coming and telling us all about these beautiful animals. And thank you for all the hard work that you guys do at the National Trust.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me and my little friends come in to talk to you guys today. Look after our animals, you guys.
All right. And if you ever have some questions, you can also write Miss Kathy. I'm sure she would love to get your questions and answer them.
I would love that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.